With that, we'll call our meeting to order for tonight, if we could. First up would be, does anybody care to add or delete anything from the agenda? Nick, I think you're muted. Are you trying to say?
I'm trying to talk. Maybe that you guys did this to me. Yeah, I had a kind of a thought. Actually, it's a two-part motion that I'd like to bring up. One is I'd like to table the assessment agreement. It's pretty complicated. It involves a lot of different taxpayer units, including ours, and I think it's worth a bit of discussion. On the heel, then the second would be to add to new business a proposal that we set up a workshop, and to workshop two things. One would be the tax assessment, and the other, since you passed the transportation millage, dig deep into that as a group before we make decisions about either one of these, but really block off time that we could look at that. The first has to be done before we start the new commission, if we will. The second after. So I'd also suggest in the second we invite Commissioner-elect Warnick so he can get background on both of these, but also particularly going forward, he would know what's going on. So that's, do I need to do that as a motion? Where's Tony or anybody?
I'm here. The only concern I guess I have, Nick, is that I believe that we're under a time crunch with respect to the assessment. I think we're looking at December 1st, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's December 30th, isn't it?
December 30th, I thought, Tony.
Boy.
So I think we do have some time to have a meeting and get a little more depth and background on that particular issue. I know I had some questions as well. So
are we talking about this? I'm sorry. Are we talking about the assessor agreement or the special assessment?
The assessor agreement with the county and the townships, I believe.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. I was
that
confused.
interlocal is the 31st.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the hearing on the assessment roll.
No,
I'm sorry,
this is
Nick.
the assessor agreement, which involves so many different groups that I think it's just worth our time.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
So the motion is to basically remove that from the agenda then,
Table it.
and I guess for lack of anything better, we'll set up a special meeting for some kind of a work session for a little further discussion in depth.
Can we do that all at
correct,
once, or
Nick?
do we have to do that in two spots?
Support.
Get that, Sarah? Are you clear as mud?
You want me to try it again, Sarah?
No, I think I'm okay.
So
We're going to table the assessor agreement and add under new business, schedule a workshop.
Or can we just do that now? No, I guess we can't. Under new business. just
We're dealing with the agenda at this point, yes.
Okay,
So I think that's appropriate.
table under I.
Okay, we do have a motion in support then. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Sarah, if you would like to take the roll on that motion in support and the approval of the agenda as amended.
Indeed. Yes, thank you. Catching up. Give me a second. Commissioner Allman, will you start, please?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington, are you here? There you are.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Mapes?
Yes.
Commissioner Mott?
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo?
Yes.
And Commissioner Stahl? No?
She is excused for the night, right? She's on vacation, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so that has passed. We have now approved our agenda. Roll call. I presume you have taken roll at this point, Sarah?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, glad to have that done. Next up would be the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Sarah, do you have a flag, or Aaron, do you have a flag to display for us?
I have one. Thank you.
Okay, so if everyone would please rise and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all very much. That's got to be the toughest part of the meeting, getting that coordinated. Next item is hearings. No, I'm sorry. We need to approve the minutes of the October 27th, 2020 meeting, regular meeting. Your pleasure.
Move approval.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Are there any comments, questions, additions, corrections, deletions? Hearing none. Sarah, would you go ahead and take that count, please?
Thank you. Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is absent, Commissioner Allman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it sounds like that motion is carried, so that is done. We've approved minutes. Now we'll move to the hearing. We need to consider a public hearing to consider the special assessment rule for unpaid charges for noxious weed cutting, sidewalk replacement, driveways, frozen meters, and utility billing charges for 2020. So this is a public meeting. We'll open the meeting. Who's taking the lead on this? Anybody?
This is the generally what we would do in July, and we had back in July moved this for the July tax roll. We moved it to the winter tax roll this year. So on there within your resolution, then you will have all of those of the unpaids up until current on November 10th. And again, we know that some folks, this is just how they choose to handle those too. So I want to make sure when you have names on there, it's not necessarily as an unpaid. It is unpaid, but it is also the way that some people choose to have that collected for them every year for these different things.
Particularly the sidewalks is
Correct.
I know I've done that. I don't know if I'm on this list or not, but it's nice to stretch those payments out sometimes.
And I would like to add that if you look at the noxious weeds that's, and I look back over the last couple of years, we're collecting much better on those because we sure as heck don't have nearly as many as we normally do that are on here. So I think it's just that continued thing that we've got going that seems to be working pretty well with gaining some of that compliance and getting those things paid off earlier.
When we stiffened the fine, it was noticed. Okay, let's see, public hearing. So is there anything else anybody wants to add? Okay, with that, we'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Sarah, would you please?
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is absent, Commissioner Allman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
and Mayor Mapes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That motion is carried as well. So we'll now move down to resolutions. First up is consideration of a resolution confirming the special assessment roll for unpaid charges as of November 10, 2020, and authorize the charges to be placed on the tax roll under the respective tax roll items. Your pleasure.
So moved.
Motion and support. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sarah, if you would, please.
I'm sorry, Mary, I didn't catch the support. Can you help me with that?
I believe it was Roger. Roxanne and Roger, did you get those two?
Got him now. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is absent, Commissioner Allman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Mott.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Sarah, and that motion is carried also. So next up, we have consideration of a resolution concurring with Gratiot County's approval of a brownfield plan for 313 North State. Your pleasure on this item.
Well, I can give you a little bit of background on it.
I need a motion first, Jim, if you don't mind.
So moved.
Approval.
Support.
Got a motion support, Sarah, you got that, I presume?
Yes, thank you.
Jim, did you want to give us some color?
Sure. For those of you who don't know, the Greater Gratiot administers the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and Gemini Capital, which we pretty well know as Ryan Smith, has a project now that 313 North State Street, which is looking at having a boutique hotel of 9 rooms down below, and then there will be rentals on the second floor, 8 of them. And as we took a look at the project and the property, there is both asbestos located on it, and then technically it was deemed functionally obsolescence with it because of just the structure of the building versus what it needed to be structured for actual dwellings. So it's a nice opportunity that it's coming forward for the community. And in the case of this one, there's been an OPRA that's already been put together that Eric's worked on, but you can also overlay a brownfield on that. And what that means is that assuming that it goes through the approval process of the city, we'll then have the county will have to rule on it. If they conclude and concur with it, it would go to the MSF, which is the Michigan Strategic Fund, which the Michigan Strategic Fund is what's allowed to capture the school taxes. So the schools are made whole by the state, but in the case of that, the state would then make that part of the brownfield. In the case of this, it's a really nice leverage point for the locals because about 2/3 of this will be paid by the state and about 1/3 of it paid locally. So what we're doing then, we're reimbursing Ryan, Gemini Capital, for the additional dollars that they have to spend in order to make the building functionally usable for this project, and then also for the asbestos cleanup and abatement for it. So turns it in, makes it a really nice project. Alma's participated a number of times before with brownfield projects. Some have been kind of small, little gas station that's on Superior, and I believe Prospect was one of them. Largest one we probably worked on was Merrill out there now, which was the cleanup of Lobdell, which was a real big adventure, but turned into a really nice project for it. So this is kind of a way, the functional obsolescence is one that's a little bit different to deal with than just pure straight pollution. But the most recent one that we worked on, which was a huge project in Ithaca, Zealand Farm Services, was the same thing with the brownfield there, that they had functional obsolescence out there due to having it was a failed alcohol plant that was then converted to a bean processing project. Again, there was a lot of infrastructure that couldn't be used and needed to come through. And so this functional obsolescence is something that's used, but turns it into a really nice project. Like I say, we get to leverage some state dollars or tax dollars. Don't kid ourselves. We all pay tax dollars either way you look at it, but it is a nice leverage that we get some local dollars return or some state dollars returned back to our county to help our downtown. And the state's really enthused about this project, hence why they're pushing it so hard to go forward with it. They've really seen what can happen with smaller downtowns and leveraging in some of these buildings that have come through. So with especially with the Opera House project that we've seen has really kind of got out on the radar scope with the state, and hope to continue that.
Okay, very good. Yes, and as Jim mentioned, we've done a number of these in the past, and certainly are seeing more and more investment in downtown. We appreciate that from Ryan and everyone else that's doing those type of projects. So anybody have any questions? Or I should say, who has the first question? Time to stump Jim?
Hey, come on. Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, I guess hearing none, we'll move to a vote then. Sarah, if you would, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is absent, excused. Commissioner Allman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
and Commissioner Piccolo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. That motion is passed as well then. Number 3 on our list is consideration of a resolution to revoke the marijuana facilities license, which was previously issued to Oak Flint LLC for their failure to meet the requirements for a November 1, 2020 deadline as set by the City Commission on June 23rd, 2020. So your pleasure on this item.
Motion.
From Larry? I'm sorry, I didn't
Support.
catch the support.
Support.
Was that Michelle?
Me. Yep.
Okay, so Larry and Michelle, comments, questions? Who has the first one? Any background from Nick or Matt? I'm sorry.
I can give you some background, Greg.
Eric? Okay.
Obviously, back in May of 2019, we provided provisional approval from the City Commission for these 3 provisioning centers. After the lottery that was held that May, they were the top 3 balls that came out of the lottery. They were given the provisional, given 1 year to receive 1 a certificate of occupancy and 1 their inspection approval from Michigan. I'm sorry, the Marijuana Regulatory Agency. COVID came around in March. We gave them a administrative extension on the days that the COVID shutdown of construction happened. They came in to City Commission and on the 23rd and requested an extension beyond that. It was decided at that meeting that November 1st, 2020 would be a fair time to finish out their projects. And the 2 of them have subsequently hit those 2 marks. The 3rd one here, Oak Flint, has not hit that mark. As of November 5th, we did provide a couple photos included with that resolution showing obviously it's not even close to being completed. So we told the folks, the other 16 other entities, to hold your place because if one of these individuals or entities, I should say, didn't make it the deadline or just failed in some way, that they would be the next in line if they met the criteria still and their entity was still viable with the state of Michigan. So that's where we're at right now with the revocation of the license.
Okay, thank you, Eric. With that revocation, and obviously I don't think any activity has taken place on this particular site. It doesn't looks like to me since well before we granted that extension.
It was well before December of 2019 when they stopped anything out there.
Yeah. So the other 2 you said have met their milestones for it. Are they in fact up and running? Are they operating?
Not yet. But they hit the milestones of getting their CO here locally, their approvals from the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and from the Marijuana Regulatory Agency, they did pass their inspection.
Any idea, indication from them when they would be open?
The folks who are called Consume on Warwick Drive, they're looking probably another month and a half, 2 months to be open. The folks that were on Center Street, they're going to be transferring their license to another location within the city of Alma.
Okay.
Yep. So.
All right, thank you. Who has questions for Eric on this?
Also, Greg, we had discussed, Eric and then got with Tony too. We thought that this is the place to bring it for the revocation, is to come back here. This was all created through the commission. The extension was given by the commission. So we thought, as opposed to just administratively of revoking that license, it really needs to come back to be your decision, as you're the ones who would extend it out. And we obviously, I think we all agree, we've been more than gracious with our time to make sure that these folks had every opportunity to put that business in place.
Thank you, Matt. And I guess with that, last I knew, we had not heard again from this group of Oak Flint. Has there been any additional correspondence from them?
They're reaching out, but there's nothing I can do for them from a staff point of view. Like I said, the property was for sale in December of 19. After we had our conversation June 23rd, that property was still for sale on the the site that was marketing that location. It was marketing location plus the license.
And I,
wasn't the attorney was on when the attorney was here last time, he when Larry asked if about it being for sale, that the attorney wasn't even aware that it was for sale. Do I remember that correctly?
I believe that's correct.
I remember it that way.
well, the other thing too is I believe, I don't know when it was, but it was subsequent to the June 23rd extension by the city commission. I believe that the attorney for Oak Flint appeared by Zoom at a subsequent city commission meeting and in essence asked the commission to extend the November 1st deadline, but no motion was made. And Eric, I can't remember when that was, but I think it was subsequent to the June 23rd meeting. A little bit more recent than that one.
I believe you're correct, Tony. I remember that as well.
Yes, that's correct.
And obviously an important consideration, number one, is that we treated all of these folks the same, or I should say the commission did. COVID hit everybody and the commission reacted accordingly. And from the very beginning of this, we have told everyone who still has a lottery ticket to hang on to their number. And I think at least some of those folks have, and they're waiting in line basically. So we've, in a sense, made promises to those folks too.
And there's certainly, it's very clear there has been no activity on this particular site for an extended period of time. Anybody else have questions? Hearing none, then we'll go ahead and take the vote on the revocation. Sarah, if you would, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Stahl is excused. Commissioner Allman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. That motion is passed as well. And next up, we have consideration of a resolution approving a policy for Virtual Open Meetings Act. We have a motion and support. Okay, we have motion, Michelle.
Support.
Support from Roger. Who wants to supply some color? Matt, I think
Go ahead,
you
Greg.
worked on this, didn't you?
This is since the change in law that was enacted last month, and really the recommendation was that we put something in policy and do it through a resolution here. Where we currently sit right now, so that you know, there's really no change through the end of this year. Everything has been extended till December 31st, which still allows us to operate the way we are right now by virtual. After the 31st of December, there will start to be some changes. There will have to be that state of emergency that exists either locally or from the state. And some of the other provisions that happen now are if let's say one of you are sick or have some kind of ailment that you can't get here, that provision will also be in this plan. And now as part of the act that you'll be able to still attend virtually after the 31st of December. This is all subject to change too by the 31st of December. I think we can see where we're all heading right now. So it would not surprise me to see that this gets extended a little bit further down the road. But this now puts into place some of the criteria of, what is a medical condition, meaning an illness, an injury, things like that may happen to a commission member, that they're still there. And that it does just reinforce some of the things that we have to do, which we have already been noticing on our pages of how do you access the meeting? How do you do the different things like that we have to do? The big change will happen 1 year down from here, December 31st at the end of 2021. That's when we'll eliminate the whole thing as far as the commissioners being ill or having an injury. And the only provision you would have then to not be in person, if everybody's in person, is if you were in the military. So this just gives us a policy now that jives with the law going forward. Although, like I say, I believe we'll probably see some changes to this by the end of this year. As we go forward, there may be some amendments. This just formalizes it.
We certainly want to be in compliance with our state regulators. So we have motion support. Who has the first question about this? Or anybody have anything? Not hearing any questions or comments, we'll move to a vote then. Sarah, you, if you would please, once again.
Thank you. Commissioner Allman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That motion is passed as well. Moving right along, we'll go down to I, agreements, consideration of a resolution authorizing, oh, I'm sorry, we removed that one. My fault. So extra, I1 was removed. We'll move to J then. Reports, commissioners may remove or may receive the reports altogether, or commissioners may remove any of these reports individually for board discussion if you'd like. And we have a police department, October, planning commission, November, building permits report, April through September, and the city manager's November 6, 2020 report. What is your pleasure on the reports?
Move to receive. Matt, do you want us to hold yours out?
Yeah, please, Nick. Thank you.
With the exception of the city manager's report?
Support.
Nick and Roxanne, for the first three, any comments or questions?
I just wanted to comment on the Elma Police Department one. I saw that we had, I believe it was 3 suicidal assists, and I wanted to thank the police department for getting those individuals during this rough time to someplace that could help them all.
Weird today, so anybody
Sorry,
else?
Greg, I couldn't hear you. I didn't hear what you were saying.
CalCMAPS.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't have my phone off there. I just said that was a nice observation and acknowledging that times are tough all over right now. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that, anybody else? And I apologize for my phone going off there. For that, we'll move to the vote then. For the first three items, Sarah, please.
Thank you. Sorry. Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is excused, and Commissioner Allman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that motion is passed as well. So now we will entertain a motion to accept the city manager's report.
So moved.
Support.
Nick and Roxanne. We have motion support. Matt, would you like to fill us in?
Thank you, Greg. As we just did, I know we've tabled the talking about the interlocal agreement with the designated assessor, but I will touch on that, and then we'll set up some time for a work session in there. The biggest thing to understand is that we are required to enter into this agreement. Every county in the state of Michigan has to have someone that is this designated assessor for the purpose of any of the units that do not pass through their AMAR. And there, to my knowledge, there was only one person who had even submitted anything to the county for this, and that would be our assessor, which is Kathy Roseland, who is, I think we all know, someone well respected in the profession. And I really believe that this is one of the ways in which she chooses to give back to the profession to make sure that she can work this through there. You may have read, there have been a couple counties where I think this is not controversial, but I think there's been some that folks have, whoever's taken on this designated assessor role has had some charges to the county without anything else happening, just in order to be that person. I know Kathy's proposal does not ask for that, but there are charges that have to have some teeth if people do not do the things that say that you'll do under your AMAR and that. So I will, if it's all right with everybody here, I think the easiest thing is what I'll do is I'll try and send something out tomorrow if we can hammer out a date to have a work session to discuss this. And I do think, Nick, I agree with the transit thing to give us that time to actually have that. We're due for a work session, folks. We've with COVID and with virtual meetings, we've kind of gotten away from some of that. So it'd be a good time to do that. And I'll get that out to you guys tomorrow if that's okay.
I think you've addressed some of the points, some of the questions that we had about that agreement, the assessor program and what's going on. I know it's state mandated, and I hate to slow things down, but certainly we need to get everybody's questions answered on that. And
It's part of the reform from 2018, and in reality, it takes a 2/3 vote of all of the entities within the county. So, and you really don't have the choice. You can vote it down, but if we did, the reality is it still has to be there by law. It's something that has to be in place. And so, but I think we can do some more. And I know Kathy sent some information out too to give you some time to peruse that, but we'll set that date tomorrow. And I just wanted to touch on the election. Again, I think I said this maybe the last meeting, but with Sarah sitting right outside my office, I really, really, really had an opportunity to see what goes into this, and especially in a year like this, of the constant questions. And if you look, we had 61% turnout in Alma, over 3,700 votes that were cast, and 1,900, just over 1,900 that are in person, and over 1,700 that were absentees. So I think it was a much different way to see the election. By comparison, I think I gave you that in 2016, we only had 654 absentees over that same period of time. So kudos to Sarah and everybody. And what everybody needs to understand is the trickle effect that this has throughout the entire organization, was meaning during those really busy times, especially with Sarah and Amy picking all of that up. The rest of the finance clerks and everybody had to step up, in different areas. And then I think that I don't want to call them volunteers, Sarah, because they're not volunteers, because you pay them not a whole heck of a lot, but they do get paid to work the election. But the election workers, for everybody to step up during this time, it sure appears that things went really, really well in Alma. So thank you to everybody.
Was it Sarah that came up with that cute little Facebook thing about how exciting it was to volunteer? Did you do that, Sarah? That was hilarious. A lot of people talked about it. So good job.
Thank you.
And we have a lot of goods and things that the state had given, that some floor markings, some other things that we'll be able to utilize and make sure that we put them to good use. But I think it was a very, very long day for all of those working, and I'm sure for all of you who were involved in the election too. So just want to make sure we get that out. We gave you a little look at that pedal trolley ordinance again. Eric worked on some of this to get some, and we did go to the Planning Commission at the beginning of this month for them to take a look at it. And what we'd like you to do is just continue to get your thoughts. Eric made a couple modifications to make sure that it fit with our ordinances and some of our timing in our ordinances. So you have that full thing there if you want to take a look at that. And we would, unless anybody has any questions for Eric or anything else that we need to start looking at, so that he can get you a real good draft as to where we would go next with that ordinance. So
have we had real interest in this?
Yeah, we actually have someone who has come to us, local person that has come to us. Two trolleys, Eric, is that what he's going to have?
Yes, and basically he'd be building them. So he has somebody building them for him. So yeah, he's pretty serious about it. Yeah.
He wants to make sure that that we've put all of that in a row before he makes that big investment. He wants to make sure that we're serious about it also. So, I think I let you know here too, we have, I told you with the CRLGG, the coronavirus relief grant funding that's come to us. I did submit here 2 weeks ago, just after our last meeting, expenses totaling a little over, almost $19,000 to Treasury of the nearly 81,000 total that we have. And that was really broken down in 7,800 for telework expense, and then the rest was in PPE. What we've continued now into looking at, and I think we all know we're heading this way, that work from home is going to become even more important. What we were able to do initially with the $7,800 was really for, I think there were 6 to 7 of us, the key group. What we've done now is we're putting together an entire package that will put all administrators and supervisors having that ability to work from home. I really can't ask people come in here and lug your monitors home and take this home and take that home. So the idea, we've got a couple folks who've been working from home. The assessing department's been working from home all along. We've got human resources and some folks that are at home. We are starting to see some of the effects. I don't say that we've had a positive, but we are seeing the effects of what's going on with the schools closing and some of the different things that are happening that's forcing more and more of our folks to do that. And I appreciate everybody's transition into that. But we are, and I know Aaron's been working on it here in the last week, we're finalizing getting those numbers of what that cost would be. And that's money that would have to be spent by December 31st, the balance of that 80,000. And I think we will be pretty good in getting that far. And again, that also includes the upgrade of the commission chambers that we'll be able to use so that when we are doing meetings like this, we can maybe do some hybrid meetings and be able to have that taken care of. So, and then there are some updates, some things for Public Works, Hayes Avenue, that construction continues. David, things are moving quicker now. It seems like that. I'm sure that the nice weather is helping that we'll continue to move along and look for that to get there. I know we've got one course already down and hopefully to see that completion makes quite a bit of difference in that area from there. I thought an interesting point was being contacted by the Mid-Michigan District Health Department, reached out to wastewater about some experimental and some things to do some testing on wastewater and in some things for COVID that would David had asked me about it, and I know he and Darren had been talking about it. I think it's a great program for us to become involved in, through Alma College and through CMU, to be involved in anything we can do in these studies that helps this situation. I think we're all for that. So, and then our leaf collection has started. We're in full force now. I think it's been interesting that we've hit some neighborhoods early and we continue to get to it. And I'm sure that the nicer weather is still helping in that. But there are some changes, as you know, with the amount of folks that we've had out there being able to work. And so a lot of our full-time staff who isn't normally involved maybe at the turning this stuff all over, but everybody's really chipped in to make sure that we're still getting that stuff moving and taking care of that. So along those lines, what I would like to throw out, David asked me yesterday, and I want to make sure, because I know we all had a lot of discussion about this, and I do this tongue in cheek, but I think we all know it is serious, is that the idea, weather has been cooperating really well right now. We have a window where I think if you look at some things, we could probably turn the lights on downtown a little bit earlier than normal. And I think that maybe the way things are going, it might not be a bad idea to get the lights on and start the spirit whenever we can here in the next week or two, and get a full 6 weeks or so out of the Christmas lights down there, as opposed to waiting until that first week of December, because as we all know here in Michigan, that may change by next week. This little window we have of nice weather and being able to do some of this could be completely different by early next week. And then as opposed to being ahead, we'll be behind.
Or tomorrow.
Yeah. I hear that the wind's supposed to pick up and we're supposed to get some changes. So
it's definitely one thing that putting up the Christmas stuff early has brought on people talking about it.
Yes.
Everybody's looking at them. We're being posted on St. Louis's website. We are the talk of the Christmas. We are getting to that Hallmark town. I'm telling you, we're getting there.
Well, I think the reality is, why not turn the lights on? Let's go ahead and we'll turn them on here in the next week, and
yep.
That way we know we've controlled it through we've controlled it through the best part of the weather that we can, and then we don't have any unknown things that could happen to us. So, David, I appreciate
and then
you
Dave, sorry for all the calls.
I think it's time to do it.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I got, Greg. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So who has the first question for Matt? I guess I've got one. It's not really for Matt, it's more for David. I noticed driving through town, we had a section of Wright Avenue blocked off for a couple of days there. I didn't see the road being opened up. Maybe I missed it, but curious what was going on there.
I noticed that too, and to be honest with you, I do not know. That was not our crews doing that, and I did not see any MDOT trucks, and I believe it was, you can correct me, but I noticed it on Sunday, and I'll look into it and see what I can find out, but I don't know what it was. There was no street opening, anything of that sort, so I'm not sure what that was.
I was just curious more than anything else, so no point in digging into it I don't know what happened. So for some reason, somebody thought this should be blocked off.
Can I ask from Matt your report about turning the lights on? Is there something in addition to having put them up already while the weather was nice that you have to do that is good to do while the weather is good? Or you just want to have the Christmas spirit.
Two things, Roxanne. I really think one thing is as long as they're sitting there, and Michelle kind of mentioned, as long as people are talking about it.
Oh, turn them on. Yeah.
Maybe we flip them on now.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
reality is too, if the weather changes drastically, and again, we are a little short-handed in those crews. If we know now with decent weather, we can get to them right now, and the leaves don't become the bigger issue, or we're not, God forbid, plowing snow all of a sudden. At least we know we can get it done right now, as opposed to having any kind of delay then.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Thank you.
It was really staff levels dependent, because if we did, typically, if you folks know that we turn it on right at prior to Thanksgiving, around that time of Thanksgiving, and we've got a window right now this week where we can turn them on. If not, we likely wouldn't have a window to turn them on until the first week of December. So that was the question. If we turn them on early, as everybody remembers, there was a lot of people that noticed the decorations up early, so everybody would notice the lights on early. So we wanted to have you guys make the decision on what we do. I mean, there's a chance where we could sneak it in that week of Thanksgiving, but that's a pretty tight window, and it was probably involve overtime to do that. So we're trying to be ahead of the curve if we can, and also not be too unorthodox with turning them on too early. But the
I
opportunity.
think you have enough leaves around town to keep your guys busy for many, many, many hours.
Just a little bit, but we'll take the weather while we can, because we're
right.
actually able to stay ahead of track right now. And the weather gods were very cooperative with us so far, but I'm going to knock on wood as I say that, because we're only one snow event away from having egg all over my face, but it's helped. And we had a nice slow transition with the leaves as well too. And then they came down earlier. You're supposed
when I answered many questions from constituents about why did they put the lights up so early, those answers were all met with oh, that was a good idea because of manpower. And I think it would be the same thing now. If we have the opportunity to do it, make everybody feel good.
Well, and I say thank you to St. Louis for bringing up the idea that we're just trying to get 2020 out of here quicker. That's I think we would all be okay with that also.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but a couple things we have talked about in the past. There is still that missing light pole in front of the Frontier building. I noticed somebody put a barrel over it now. So that's why maybe a safety improvement, a mild safety improvement. We still are missing a post there.
Mild one. Yeah, it's mild because it does cover it up at least now from there as well.
I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but that light pole that's in the alley next to the Opera House, between the Opera House and the shoe store, the shoe repair, the cobbler shop, that seems to be an unnecessary light pole at this point, given the amount of light that the Opera House, the colleges put up on the side of their building. With there a possibility of getting rid of that pole out of the alley and even moving it down to in front of Frontier if we don't have one to put there right now?
Greg, at this point, that light was part of the MEDC project. So until that kind of gets closed out, that might be an option later later. But right now, it's kind of part of the overall block that MEDC
paid for.
So.
All right. Anything else for Matt? So we'll entertain the vote then to accept his report. Sarah, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you. Mayor Mapes, will you start?
Yes.
Commissioner Mott?
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo?
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is excused. Commissioner Allman?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Harrington?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. That motion is carried as well. So thank you for the report, Matt. We have no new business. Appropriations is the next on the agenda. Would we,
Matt, we do have new business to set the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Nick, you did have the new business for the meeting. And I believe Matt indicated that he was going to try and set something up by email tomorrow. Yeah. Is there a preference to do it tonight, Nick, or anybody else?
No, I just wanted to get it on the table.
Okay. So if that's the agenda item, do you want to take action on that, or are we going to just ignore it for now?
You need a motion to just ask Matt to set that up.
Okay. That sounds like a good motion.
Okay. Can you make that sound coherent, Sarah?
And I'll support your
course.
coherency.
I'm sure Sarah's a genius at that, so we
I
appreciate
didn't
her
give her, I
talents.
didn't give her much to work with, but that's okay.
I'll make something up.
Okay, so we had a motion and support. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sarah, if you would please.
I'm still making up the motion.
Oh, okay. You mean you're writing down what you heard?
Yes, that's exactly
Because
what
I'm sure you do not make things up
I never do.
in our minutes. I just know you don't do that.
I never do. Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is excused. Commissioner Allman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
and Mayor Mapes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. That motion has passed as well. So my apologies for missing it, Nick. Now we'll move to the appropriations. If anyone would care to pay the bills, we'd entertain that motion.
Move approval.
Support.
Michelle? And I didn't catch the support. Roger is supporting. Questions or comments on the bills tonight? Anyone? Hearing none. Sarah, if you would please.
Thank you. Commissioner Piccolo,
Yes.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is excused. Commissioner Allman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
and Commissioner Mott.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion is carried as well. So we'll move to commissioner comments. And Larry, would you like to go first tonight?
Yeah, I'd just like to warn everybody, I'm a prime example. I probably was as safe as anybody with wearing masks and social distancing. And I'm laying in a hospital right now with COVID. I'm getting the medicine that the president got, and I'm going to come out of this real good. But COVID is still here. It's really dangerous. There's 83 deaths in Michigan today. And we need to be always mindful and be careful and protect ourselves and protect other people. That's it.
Hey, thank you, Larry, and certainly our best wishes are with you. And I was very pleased to hear that you're making a great recovery and you'll be back out and on your game soon. So, Michelle, if you'd like to be next.
Wishing you the best recovery, Larry. Good to hear your voice tonight. I wanted to thank Kathy and both of the Kathys for answering my questions about the some of the agenda items tonight. I sent them messages today and they answered them quickly right back as usual. And again, thank you to the DPW for picking up all those leaves that everybody's been out enjoying the weather. So thanks to those guys for putting in the time to get them, and just wishing everybody a happy week. Been great weather and it's great to see people out walking, but yes, everybody needs to stay safe and listen to what the scientists say, please. That's it.
Thank you, Michelle. Roger.
Along the stay safe line of thoughts here, Larry, it goes best wishes to you. We know you're going to make it through this, but I'm sure it's tough, but hang in there, kid. But along those same lines, we made the decision yesterday to pull the trigger on the First Presbyterian Church Community Thanksgiving dinner. We are canceling that for the first time in 26 years. We have normally served close to 500 or sometimes over 500 people on that. And it was a tough decision for both Craig and me and a couple of other people involved with our church to make. But I think it's necessary that we do that. There's just too much risk in anything we do like that now. So unfortunately, we'll have to play see you next year with it.
Roger, in light of that, which, you know, that's such a wonderful event and been so supportive of the community for all these years, is there anything that your group has done? Are you working with Salvation Army to perhaps direct some donations? Is there any place that someone could go that wants to give a donation to help somebody get a Thanksgiving dinner? Is there anything going on that you know of that we could do?
Greg, no, not thus far yet. Like I said, we just made this decision yesterday afternoon to do this. We had one check that came in for the Thanksgiving dinner, and we called back and asked that person if they wanted to send it someplace else or leave it there for next year, and they decided to leave it there. A lot of what we get on that is just donations at the door. I am going to call tomorrow all of the people who have already made reservations and tell them that we're sorry, but we have to cancel it. And I can let them know that maybe there are places that they can deal with to help with something. I understand the need is still going to be there. We're going to try to continue with Community Cafe as much as we can, but we will not be doing that on Thanksgiving Day. The difference between Community Cafe and what we're going to do on Thanksgiving is the amount of people in the kitchen. They're doing it with about 4 people in the kitchen right now, and that's fine. It would be 25 people in the kitchen to do it for Thanksgiving. But I'll look into it. That's a really great thought. I'll look into different avenues that possibly could pick up the slack for doing that through the Salvation Army or something. Thank you. That's a really good suggestion, and I'll look into it. Yes.
Thank you, Roger. I know in the past, Salvation Army, different things that I've worked on, they've been a great clearinghouse for, getting things out to folks, and they're a real resource in our community. So there's many others too. I don't mean to, denigrate anybody else, but certainly I've had great personal experience with them. So thank you for everything you're doing as well, Roger.
I agree. Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
All right. Roxanne.
Just kind of a repeat of I'm glad you're doing better, Larry, and I hope you continue to improve. And to thank Sarah and all her crew for the tremendous job they did for the election, and all of our city workers, leaf picker uppers and light turner honors. Thanks for everything. You guys are great. I'm proud to be part of it. Thanks.
Nick.
Just a couple of things. Of course, Larry, I certainly had my wishes for a speedy recovery and get back to good health. Certainly Sarah and Amy and your crew, marvelous job in a difficult situation. But the election was the swirl itself. It wasn't contentious, but all those things swirling around it were. And keep your head and do your job. Shows some real concentration in class. So thank you. Congratulations to all the candidates, people that ran and showed interest, and I wish everyone well. And congratulations, Danny. So good job. And actually, just to throw in, Roger, you didn't mention this, but I think the Halloween thing that the Presbyterian Church did, a drive-through, we must have had, 150?
About 150, yes.
In about 45 minutes. So a lot of folks got through. So not much to add to that.
Hey, thank you, Nick. Sarah, do you have any comments to share?
Actually, I would like to say thank you to all the people that worked for me. As Michelle mentioned earlier, I put out the Facebook post and I got quite a good response. I was pretty excited about how many people came in and volunteered. I don't know the exact number. I would say it's probably between 12 and 24 people that came in and filled out an application. So we had lots of people willing to help, and I just wanted to say thank you to those people. And then thank you to Amy. If you see Amy, tell her she's amazing. I wouldn't have made it without her. She worked her butt off processing all those AV ballots, and we got it done, and it went swimmingly. It went really well. So with your permission, I would like to thank the people that did work in the precinct for me, and name some names. Sue Hellman, Nancy Simon, Karen Rinstra, Don Reidel, Chris Moody, Liz Van Dyke, Irma McElhaney, Nikki Green, Aaron and Amy Hale, Chris Hernandez, Alyssa Gager, Chrissy Giffen, Olivia Billings, Haley Borish, Ben Long, Charla Nira, Bobby Renshaw, Vicky Struckens, Brad Strong, Justin Judge, Laura Ash, and Kate Blanchard. They were awesome. I had a fantastic team. I couldn't ask for anyone. Well, They were wonderful. So if you see any of those people, tell them thank you. They did a great job. And thank you all for your support. It's been a rough year so far, but we got through it. So thank you.
Sarah? Mr. Attorney, Tony.
Well, just a couple things. First, I was going to get on my soapbox and talk about wearing a mask, but Larry, that was a very eloquent little talk you just gave. And if anybody heard that and doesn't mask up and keep their distance, I don't know if anybody else can make them do it. Larry, it's a sign of your character and your work ethic that you're here with us tonight anyway. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but it wouldn't take much to keep me away, and I'm impressed, Larry. And happy Veterans Day to every veteran. Thank you so much for everything you do. Roger, you've always been my hero. I don't know if there's anybody else here that deserves it. If there is, I apologize. But thank you very much.
You're welcome. My honor, my duty.
Hey, thank you, Tony. Matt.
Just echo everybody. Larry, thoughts and prayers for you going through this. And thank you so much for still making it here tonight. Along those lines, I think that Tony and I have talked about this a little bit as we put out the last plan. But this is a constant still. It's a constant still evaluation within what we're going to do in the municipal building and what we're going to do there. Unfortunately, the reality is we have experience now to live to gather from the way we've done. And I got a lot of confidence in the staff, and we're going to finish off to make sure that we're in a good position so that we can work from home if need be and can do those things. Our goal would be to keep, we do have to serve the public, is to keep that building functioning to some extent as long as we possibly can, but we will continue to reevaluate that all the time. And if any of that changes, you'll be the first folks to know. I will get right with you right away. But again, thanks to the staff for continuing through all of this and still doing a really, really good job. Not gonna lie to you, it's difficult, but it's not only for us, that's for everybody. So as we've seen the changes going on in school, we know we're gonna have employees that are gonna be infected by this. We go all the way back to March when you folks made some decisions about our policies and how we can do things to make sure that we keep our staff functioning to the best that we can and also show that we care for them. So that's our pledge that we'll continue to do.
Thank you, Matt. And I would just like to add my appreciation for Larry and the tale that you told. I don't know anybody that's been more careful than you have, Larry. And, you know, for you to have contracted the disease as careful as you were is certainly a wonderful lesson for the rest of us. Unfortunately, a difficult lesson. I wish I could say you were the only person I knew that had the COVID or that has gotten this. You know, in spite of how careful we are, the good news, I think we've gotten some really good news with this vaccine. Looks like there's some real potential for that, for some brighter days ahead, but we're still probably a good year away from that working its magic, you know, even if it continues to go as well as it possibly can. So, you know, just tighten it down for another year, folks. It's going to be a tough one, but we'll get through this. Sarah, I certainly want to congratulate you on an election well run. I took more notice this year, given everything that's going on around us, of all of the procedures and processes that you go through and that the team that you have assembled and what you do. And it's just incredible the amount of work that goes into it, you know, well before election day. It's not just the crew that you assemble for election day. You and your team, much smaller team, obviously, work on it many, many days ahead of time. So there's a lot going on there, and incredible amount of fairness in the system, the integrity of the system and what you deliver, and everybody that's on the team is just wonderful. It speaks very high of our nation as a whole, but very proud to be part of Alma and everything you've put together for us. So thank you very much. And also, last but certainly not least, I'd like to welcome Danny, our newest commissioner, to be joining us next year officially. So congratulations on your election, Danny.
Thank
Glad
you.
to have you aboard. And certainly condolences to Nick. I personally, I've enjoyed working with you very much and plan on continuing, working with you well beyond this. We're not going to let you get away from this. So we're going to find things for you to do and ways to keep you busy and to continue to exploit your talents and your skills. So be on the lookout for us. With that, I'd like to open up to the public for if there's any members of the public that would like to make any comments. This would be an appropriate time to do that. So I don't think we've got a lot of public. Anyone? Okay, hearing none, we would entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting this evening. Sarah, if you would, please. No, I'm sorry, we got to have a motion first.
So
Your
moved.
pleasure. Roger and Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, now if you would, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Stahl is excused. Commissioner Allman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harrington,
Yes.
Mayor Mapes,
Yes.
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
and Commissioner Piccolo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And with that, I wish everybody a great evening. Stay dry, stay warm, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Good to see everybody.
Take
Good night.
care, Larry. Take care,
Yeah.
Larry.
Thanks. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Yep.
I will beat this.
Yes, you will.
Yes, you will.
You have 3 weeks till Santa Claus has to be around. He needs your help.
I'll be there.
Okay. Bye.